So here is something fun happening in Beijing lately. Several big-name members of the Chinese Academy of Engineering and the Chinese Academy of Sciences, people who used to hold senior positions in China's military-industrial conglomerates, have had their names and biographies quietly scrubbed from official rosters. Now, in any normal country, having your bio removed from a website might just mean somebody forgot to renew the hosting plan. In China, it means you are in deep, deep trouble. Naturally, everyone's asking, is Xi Jinping's military purge, which has already decimated the top brass, now reaching into the labs and design bureaus? And what does it mean when the people who build your missiles and stealth fighters start vanishing from the internet? Let's walk through who these people are, because the roster is genuinely jaw-dropping. First up, Wu Menqing. He is an academician and vice president of the Chinese Academy of Engineering, and the former chairman and general manager of the China Electronics Technology Group Corporation. His specialty, radar. But not just any radar. He is the guy who builds radar networks, the kind that link detection systems to command and control, to communications, to weapons launch platforms. He is basically the architect of China's radar nervous system. So, not exactly a mid-level IT guy. Number 2, Zhao Xiangzhang, also a vice president of the Chinese Academy of Engineering. His field, nuclear physics, specifically nuclear weapons. According to his official bio, which has now conveniently disappeared, he was described as a principal academic leader and technical director of China's nuclear weapons program. Someone who organized and led multiple large-scale national experiments and major defense missions with enormous contributions to China's nuclear arsenal. We're talking someone roughly in the same league as the legendary figures who built China's bomb in the first place. No big deal. Third, Wei Ying, former Deputy General Manager of the China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation. He is a missile expert, but not the guy who designs individual missiles. He does something arguably more important: overall systems architecture and guidance technology. He is the one who figures out how missiles talk to radar, to reconnaissance, to fire control, how the whole thing works as an integrated kill chain. You can see how his work would overlap closely with Wu Menqing's radar networks. And fourth, Yang Wei. This one's from the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and he is a former Deputy General Manager of the Aviation Industry Corporation of China. Yang Wei is the man behind China's fighter jets. Not just one fighter jet. He is the chief designer of the G-20, China's flagship stealth fighter that Beijing won't stop bragging about. But he also led or participated in the development of the J-10 series, the J-16, and the JF-17 Thunder. That is the one China co-developed with Pakistan. He pioneered stealth features, information warfare integration, and cooperative combat systems across an entire generation of aircraft. He didn't just design a plane. He designed the playbook for how Chinese fighter jets work together in battle. So let's take a step back and appreciate the full picture. Radar networks, nuclear weapons, missile systems architecture, stealth fighter design. 4 people, all apparently in serious trouble at the same time. And these aren't your garden variety generals who can be swapped out relatively easily. You can always find another commander, finding another guy who can design a stealth fighter from scratch. Good luck with that. Now the official excuse for all these purges is always the same: corruption. And look, corruption is almost certainly part of the story. When you are running weapons programs with budgets in the billions, the opportunities for skimming are endless. The R&D phase alone is a goldmine for creative accounting. Anyone who has ever been involved in engineering knows what a design process looks like. Mountains of discarded blueprints, endless iterations, astronomical costs that are genuinely hard for auditors to second-guess. And if the scientists and the procurement officers and the auditors are all in on it together, well, you've got yourself a very profitable assembly line of graft. But corruption alone doesn't explain why these purges keep cascading across every branch of the military-industrial complex simultaneously. To understand that, you need to zoom out and see the bigger chain reaction. It started with the military brass. Remember Li Shangfu? He was the defense minister who got investigated in August 2023 and stripped of all his positions 2 months later. His problems traced back to his time running the Equipment Development Department. And when investigators started pulling that thread, 4 deputy directors of the Equipment Development Department fell in rapid succession. Zhang Yulin, who had also been president of the National University of Defense Technology. Rao Winmin, Qian Weiping, who had been deputy commander of the Manned Space Program and was reportedly linked to an espionage case back in 2019. Espionage, by the way, is essentially treason, and Li Yuchao. That is the entire deputy leadership of the department that buys all the weapons. Then the rocket force imploded, and I mean completely imploded. 4 consecutive commanders, Wei Fengge, Zhou Yanning, Li Yuchao, and Wang Houbin, all went down. Wei Fengge's charges were particularly colorful: loyalty collapse and betrayal of faith, which are about the most damning phrases in the Chinese Communist Party's vocabulary. 3 out of 4 political commissars also fell. The kicker, Wang Houbin and his commissar counterpart Xu Xinsh were supposedly brought in from outside the rocket force, specifically to clean it up. They got purged too. So the guys sent to fix the problem turned out to be part of the problem. It is like sending the fire department to put out a blaze, and then discovering the firefighters are arsonists. There were 2 great jokes circulating about this. One, a general gets told he is being promoted to the rocket force, and his family immediately starts packing a bag of clean clothes for prison. 2, somebody pointed out that the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection has been more effective at decapitating the rocket force than American missiles have been at decapitating enemy leadership. The US spent billions on precision strikes against Iranian targets, and the results were mixed. The party disciplinary committee took out the entire rocket force command structure without firing a shot. But here is where it gets really interesting. Once you start connecting the dots, you realize this isn't just a collection of individual corruption cases. It is an entire supply chain falling apart. The military officers who use the weapons, the procurement officials who buy them, the military-industrial executives who manufacture them, and now the scientists who design them, research, procurement, production, deployment. Every single link in the chain has been compromised. That is not a few bad apples. That is a rotten orchard. And there's one more layer to this. On the military-industrial side, before these latest 4, at least 4 major conglomerate bosses had already been taken down. Wu Yansheng, chairman of the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, the outfit responsible for the Long March rockets, the Shenzhou spacecraft, and the Beidou satellite navigation system. Lu Shiquan, chairman of the China North Industries Group, which makes everything from tanks and armored vehicles to artillery and ammunition for the army. Tan Rizong, chairman of the Aviation Industry Corporation, whose subsidiaries produce virtually every military and civilian aircraft in China, including the J-20 and JF-17. And Hu Wenming, sometimes called the father of China's aircraft carriers. Though honestly, given that China's carrier program is built on a hull purchased from Ukraine and developed with substantial Ukrainian technical expertise, the real father might be Ukrainian. And there might be a 5th, Mao Weiming, the designer of the electromagnetic catapult system for China's newest carrier, the Fujian. His name is still on the official lists, but rumors are swirling. Now, why did this whole avalanche start? There is a fascinating theory that the trigger wasn't internal auditing at all. It was battlefield performance. Chinese weapons exported to countries like Venezuela and Iran reportedly performed embarrassingly badly when those countries actually had to use them against American forces. We're not talking about losing to superior technology, which everyone expects. We're talking about basic failures, missing spare parts, substandard components, maintenance packages that didn't work, quality control that wouldn't pass muster at a bicycle factory. when your clients start complaining that the weapons they paid for are literally falling apart. And when those complaints have geopolitical consequences, someone back in Beijing is going to start asking very uncomfortable questions. There is even the lingering mystery of those missiles fired during the Fourth Taiwan Strait crisis in 2022. After Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, reports suggested that some of them landed inside Chinese territory in Guangxi province. If that is true, and it has never been officially confirmed, you can imagine the internal investigation that followed. Was it a weapons malfunction? A human error? A quality control failure somewhere in the production chain? Trace that thread far enough, and you end up right back at the scientists and executives who are now being purged. Then there is the American angle. In 2022, the U.S. Air Force's China Aerospace Studies Institute published a jaw-dropping 200-plus page report on the rocket force that laid out everything: command structure, weapon systems, base locations, supply routes, even the mess halls and military dog units. The level of detail was so granular that it could only have come from human intelligence sources inside the system, not just satellite imagery. That report essentially told Beijing, we have people inside your most sensitive military branch. The purges of the rocket force leadership began the following year. Coincidence? Almost certainly not. And recently, the same institute reportedly published follow-up research focusing on China's nuclear weapons program. If the pattern holds, expect another wave of purges in that domain, which may be exactly what we're seeing with Zhao Xianzheng's disappearance from the Academy roster. Then the CIA went and did something delightfully provocative. They released recruitment ads in Mandarin Chinese, posted on platforms accessible to Chinese citizens who use VPNs to get past the Great Firewall. The ads racked up tens of millions of views. And here is the thing. It is not just college kids who jump the firewall. Senior officials and military personnel can access foreign internet too. The message wasn't subtle. Your system is broken. People inside it are already talking to us. And here is how you can too. One ad even depicted a dinner table where the guests keep disappearing one by one. A darkly accurate metaphor for what has been happening to China's military elite. The real question is what all of this means for China's actual military capability. Beijing has spent decades building up an image of a formidable fighting force with cutting-edge weapons. The J-20 is supposed to rival the F-35. The rocket force is supposed to be the fist that keeps the US, Japan, and Taiwan in check. The new carriers are supposed to project power across the Pacific. But when the chief designer of your stealth fighter is under investigation, when the architect of your radar networks is gone, when your nuclear weapons program leader has been scrubbed from official records, and when the electromagnetic catapult guy for your newest carrier is reportedly in trouble, how much confidence can you actually have in any of these systems? Hardware can be upgraded, technology can be iterated, but trust, once destroyed, is almost impossible to rebuild. And right now, the Chinese military establishment is drowning in mutual suspicion. The leadership doesn't trust the officers. The officers don't trust each other. The scientists don't know if their colleagues are about to be arrested. Everyone is looking over their shoulder. There is a historical parallel that is hard to ignore. When the Soviet Union collapsed, its military was in some respects superior to America's. It had more tanks, more nuclear warheads, more troops. And yet it fell apart without firing a shot, because in the end, the people inside the system had lost faith in it. Back in the Cold War era, Chinese military pilots used to defect to Taiwan by simply flying their jets across the strait. When those aircraft were later examined, the engineering was actually decent for the era. The hardware wasn't the problem. The people were. They didn't believe in the system enough to stay. Today, with purge after purge tearing through the ranks, with CIA recruitment ads going viral on Chinese social media, and with every level of the military-industrial complex under suspicion, that crisis of faith is only deepening. Xi Jinping's government keeps using the phrase loyalty collapse to describe the crimes of purged officials. The irony is that the purges themselves are probably the single greatest driver of loyalty collapse in the entire system. The Chinese Communist Party has always believed that power flows from the barrel of a gun. But what happens when the people who build the guns, design the bullets, and aim the barrels no longer trust the hand that is supposed to be pulling the trigger? That is the question Beijing is grappling with right now. And based on everything we're seeing, they don't have a good answer. This story is far from over. The chain reaction is still unfolding. And if past patterns hold, there are many more names yet to disappear from many more official websites. Stay tuned.